And so the studios started to realize, oh, this TV is not a fad we can ignore. So before they were kind of like just, selling kind of like time to TV producers who wanted to use their lots for production, whatever. Now they were like, okay, now we need to actually make this stuff ourselves. So they first started by just showing their film content on TV, right? Like, licensing their film content to TV stations. But then they started to create separate divisions in their studio for television content. And by the 1960s, they started to make comparable revenue to Hollywood, the movie business. So by the 1960s, the effects of moving away from the studio system started to become apparent as filmmakers became much more experimental because more creative freedom, and the Hays Code, which was kind of like a restrictive censor on morally questionable content when our country was a little bit more puritanical in 1934. That was lifted in 1968, and so people could start talking about more risque type stuff. Also during this time was obviously the Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement. So this reflected a lot of like progressive stuff that was going on in the country, and there was also the growth of the youth culture that was going on. There was Woodstock and sex, drugs, rock and roll, the Beatles, all that stuff that was happening in the 1960s. Swingers, I'm thinking of Austin Powers, but this started to kind of like change the dynamic of Hollywood, or of what they sort of produced in the 1960s. And so also during this time, MI6's best propaganda ever franchise, James Bond, debuted on the big screen in 1962 with Dr. No, played by the iconic Sean Connery. And this started one of the most successful franchises in movie history, of course, superseded by the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So after the Vietnam War in the 1970s, Watergate, and during the 1970s as well as all these kind of like JFK commissions, and revelations of CIA and FBI, spying operations on Americans.